Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's grand finals time here at ELO Hell. We've got Pluto Cup Valorant coming at you guys in just a moment. The finalists are going to be Worn Down W up against the ELO Hell Space Agency. And your tours through all of today's action are myself, and I am joined by the always wonderful Moxie. Mox, we're ready for some good Valorant. How you feeling about it today?
I'm feeling good. It's gonna be a best of three, so even though we're headed off to Bind, first of all, no surprises there. We're gonna get to see other maps though. I'm not saying it's a bad map, it's just one that we get to see a lot. It's sort of the King's Row, of this game. A lot of people like to pick it.
Slow your
Very well
roll, slow your
timed,
roll.
but
Mine's just brown. Mine's just it's a lot of brown and like some okay rotations, and for whatever reason, everybody seems to like it. But it's where we're starting off either way. I'll give you that.
I mean I like it for one big old reason, and that's it's arguably Killjoy's best map. If we're going to see her in play today, it's gonna be first time.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't expect either of these teams to run the Killjoy. Maybe one out of the two of them. The thing is she just complicates the game so much, and even the pros are having trouble getting value out of playing Killjoy. And so you can't assume that anyone's going to want to, especially when they've been playing here at Pluto Cup for a little bit. They're feeling comfortable in the compositions they run. I think there are some things that we can speculate about. Of course, the Killjoy is an option. Sageless has been becoming a more and more prevalent. But on Bind, Cypher reigns king, incredibly powerful here, so expect to see that.
Yeah, I always sort of inwardly shiver whenever I see a team roll out without that agent on bind. It doesn't matter if you're attacking, it doesn't matter if you're defending, you need that information. It's not his ultimate that carries the game, it's those cameras, door. They are so very hard for the other side to work around. If you get spotted out in this game, you're as good as dead.
Absolutely. And speaking of spotting people out, let's talk a little bit about these players we've got loaded up. Worn Down W with Shun, Cornbread, Dog Bear, Rit M, and Ciabatta Bread. Quick little fun fact: Ciabatta Bread tells us he likes milk, and that's about all I have to say about him. Mox, why don't you run us down Elo Hill Space Agency side?
We've got Ripon, Pippin, Favron, Oni, Zephyr, and Zeph the Canadian, also known as Zeph TC. And Dor, we were discussing these guys a little bit before the cast, and you actually pointed out Wanda and W have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to those rankings. They've got 2 gold, whereas Elo Health Space Agency currently running with 2 silver.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to matter all that much. I mean, you're talking about IGL, you're talking about coordination. Team play is an entirely different thing to anything that's online. Expect these teams to come at it relatively evenly, especially starting out on bind, something that's going to be even from half to half for the most part. I think the big question is who's going to start off strategically better? Who's going to start off on the front foot? Yeah, there's adaptation after that, but you pick up the first 4, maybe even 5 rounds, you can come off to a big start here. We'll get more talking about bind as we hop here into the first map.
So you say you can kind of sort of like clutch it back in those early rounds, but for me, what always sets a team off perfectly, especially if you're on the defense, is by locking in those first 3 rounds. As soon as you have access to either a marshal or an operator, then you can start sporting up that A heaven spot, and it's so very hard for teams to try and push onto A if there is a sniper orientated up on that high ground because you've got to split his focus. You've got to send half of your team for showers, half of your team for short, and that puts you in some pretty nasty situations.
Of course, it is characteristic of bind that there is always the option of the execute. You can smoke away that sight line and go for just the default plant running 5 people down. Yes, it doesn't give you as much sight control as it would putting a couple of people through bathrooms, but of course there is the option of spreading out, trying to take full sight control going in, like you said, and getting rid of that option. But I think for the attackers, those first couple rounds are key because then you can keep the operator, the marshal, out of the hands of the defenders for as long as humanly possible. Because once it comes out, you're absolutely right, it gets a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and for the attackers as well, remember, if you're running without armor in those early rounds, Marshall, while not as expensive as the operator, still hits that one-shot potential if you don't have anything to sort of cushion your health bar. And so it is the exact same threat, the exact same sort of resources that you have to put to getting it out of the way.
And we'll see what operators they lock in here in a moment as agent select is now done and over with. Do we get a killjoy Moxie drum roll? The
Gonna be a
loading's taking a
little
really
longer.
long time. There it is.
No
And
killjoy.
no killjoy.
My joy is immediately killed. It's gonna be 2 ciphers locked in. We can, though, be quite happy, though. Wanda and W are opting to run without that rather Elo held Space Agency actually on that defense, opting to run without the Sage. This means that you've got a lot of aggression. You're going to have to just go in with those first picks to control the pacing of this fight. Otherwise, 1W can just come in with that Sage, with those slow ups, that wall, and immediately stuff this team up.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise seeing the Sage just right about now. It's getting more and more popular. Teams are liking running it more and more because it's so aggressive and because it can pry open any advantage you get. As well, the Sophie utility is really nice to have. With the Phoenix, you're going to be playing more aggressive anyway. As well as the fact that they need to be prepped for this defense, Mox. They've got 3 over on B. It's going to be a tricky one to pull off.
Zephyr's camera is spotting them out, so there should be the rotation coming on through, but 1W may not allow Elo Health Space Agency the time. Falcon's going up to heaven, but immediately smoked off by the Cypher Cage. No value there.
Yeah, it wasn't a very strong initial hold on the push. Yes, you got the tripwire, but you weren't hitting your shots. Already they were holding super passive positions on the site, thinking, okay, we can just rotate. But then they didn't rotate out. They weren't passive. They weren't aggressive. They kind of just sat there and waited for the players to move in. Now you're stuck 2 versus 4. Rip and Pippin is managing to find himself at least 1 here. But getting past the rest of these 4 is going to be damn near impossible for Zeph. He might be able to pull it off, though. Just 2 remain spots to Cypher. But Shun takes his head off and ends the first round. 2 players remaining. Worn down W pick up the first.
Worn down W able to get that first point on the board, and that means Elo Health Space Agency can't really go for the play that they wanted to. They find the most value when this over was up in heaven, but right now you didn't win that point, you didn't grab the money, you won't be able to afford the Marshal or the Operator. So Worn down W, if they can get the second point into their favor, will be at a very, very good advantage. Whereas Elo Health Space Agency opting for the budget buy, we're seeing shotguns coming out.
I mean, it's pretty expected to see those shotguns do a little bit of economic damage, try and see if you can make any sort of dent. They're not going for any aggressive win on the round. Leave in the same spot. Oh, a lot of shots, but not many of them connect. Davron does manage to get 1 on the way out, but definitely not what you're looking for. Still 1 member lurking here on B. Zeph might be able to deny a plant. Maybe find a pick or 2, but the odds he finds anything more than that are slim to none. In fact, they're going to be none as Rit takes him out. And now it's 2 versus 4. This retake looking less and less likely by the second, Mox.
Oh, Zephyr, the Cypher, gonna be trying to move him, but he's only got the shotgun and Shun isn't gonna let him close that distance. That's really what destroyed Elo Health Space Agency's defense door. The Cypher was over on A rather than B, and so the team had to go for the aggressive face check. Lost 3 members in the process. Without that information, without those health bars, 1W, all they had to do was press that exact letter. Now we're going to be seeing Favron trying to use that Marshal, trying to get that one-shot potential. However, 1W, because they're the ones with the point on board, have the armor, so it will be the 2 shots you need to connect to get a kill.
Well, if Favron's got an Operator in hand, he's going to go for the B long peek here. Big question is, does anybody challenge him? Shot on the Phoenix connects Stavron. Early first pick now, and you know Worn down W, you're going to be playing very cautious after that.
That Jet, so killer with that weapon, the most mobility in the game, the least amount of punishment you can put onto her head with those updrafts. Cornbread's got the Vandal, but already using the satchel packs just to find any sort of space to push through Hooker. They're not doing it, it's a false pretense. Said that Spike's moving its way slowly towards the A side, but when he's holding his grounding lambs, he's going to be able to know exactly when they start moving up A short.
Well, the Owl Drone didn't spot anybody out by Hookah. That's going to prompt the 2-man rotation out, as well as a Paranoia being thrown. They're bound to run into this tripwire. No, it's a teleport play from one of the players here. It's just the Sage with the Spike. 2 players completely stuck aside on A, and this kind of has fallen to bits for Worn down W, who started off with a nice lead, but now are running straight into the welcome runs of Favron and their Operator. That is if Rip and Pippin doesn't get a piece of them first. In fact, they will, putting their first up on the board. Elo Health Space Agency, with a strong first pick, are going to find their first round.
1W just could not get to that Operator, even though Favron misses that shot when they're all in window. You've still got Rip and Pippin there to play that defense, to make sure no one collapses onto him. Something that these guys are going to have to deal with. Especially if this Jet isn't going for that A heaven spot. It's just going to be holding on to B. Goes for the really aggressive garden peek once again. You gotta ask yourself a serious question. Fool me once, shame on you. Walk into the same Operator crosshair. That's all on you, bud.
I mean, they expect it. They've got a counter operator as well. Yeah, no surprise there. Dogbear is lying in wait with the 2-man peek. And honestly, that's a really, really smart one. They tried to airstrike the Rays out of the way. At the very least, yo, you go 1 for 1 here. You take one member off that B site, which is fantastic. If they take this, it's going to be incredibly hard for Elahel Space Agency to do anything about pushing the operator aggressively as Rip and Pippin, but easily punished by Dogbear. Now just 1v3. Zeph looking to make some sort of dent into the attack, but is only able to take down one. Zephyr is now forced back. Site control given over to Worn Down W as well as a run it back. It's going to make it incredibly hard for them to push, but that spike has a little bit to go before it's actually on site.
Dogbear, though, has got all of B back completely shut down. Ultimate runs out. He's going to have to gain that ground once again. He doesn't actually know where this defense is coming from. He thinks B back is clear, so he's given away his position. The operator is so good in that close distance, long distance fight, but as soon as you close up that distance, or it becomes extremely hard to find value with, and that's why One Down W are just trying to just move further back and further back and further back. Spike making his way towards A using that teleporter. Finds Mechanic, and that means rotation coming from the defense to try and stop it.
Yeah, it's been a real lack of confidence from Worn Down W so far. As they finally get onto A, though, the camera spots him out, Spike down in pretty standard plant position. 10 seconds on the clock, though, and already Elahel Space Agency have gained a lot of ground at this point. It all comes down to this duel, though. So much control. Dogbear finds it his third of the round. I think that last player. Good shot by Shun to finish things off. 3-1. Worn Down W come away with the lead.
Oh, I like players, though, that swap off the operator when they know it's going to be a close quarters fight. Dogbear's able to swap on over to the Phantom, finds value, can still go hunting for that defense in that close quarters fight. One Down W, they're not quite at that advantage where, you know, Elahel Space Agency can't come back in terms of economy, but we're definitely on the brink. If this defense loses this round, you can already see a couple of 500s, a couple of 300s in the credit bank. That's going to be a hard one to recover from.
Yeah, with the attacker's advantage as well, we know they're going to be going into the defensive half with a pretty large advantage. Should they turn this into at least a tied half, we know that defenders have had a relatively large advantage in recent time. Coming up against a 3-man B long push, how will they respond? Is the Sova ready for the crossfire with Davron? Got a while to peek. No, he's not. It's just one angle they have to check. Are they ready? He's not aiming at anything. Davron, he goes for a flick instead of watching the angle prior. Good flash, though. Good curveball. Let's rip and get one. Not much more, though, as the run it back runs out. And the attackers gain control of the site. It's going to be a tough retake here for Elahel Space Agency.
They don't have any threat right now. They were relying on that jet to keep them in bay to stop them coming through guns, and now they're all stuffed in the back of B. Any way they come out, though, One Down W are going to be ready. You can see Combat hiding between the fortifications! And Zephyr is betrayed by his own ability!
I mean, that's about as unfortunate as it gets. The attackers just gain so much early control of B, and it's a real weakness on Bind. There's a reason that we see 3 players stack it up. It's because it's a much harder site to retake. A lot of the time, people are willing to give up A because they know they can come back onto it. B, that is much less so the case. And the fact that Worn Down W are getting in without losing 1, even 2 members sometimes is really, really aggravating for Elahel Space Agency, who continually have to rotate off of A and try and take this site that's damn near impossible.
I mean, talking of a comeback, Elahel Space Agency are definitely in dire straits. One Down W can't afford things like operators for this defense. They're on sheriffs and shotguns, though. You've got to take the fight to them.
Oh my god!
Right through the middle of the smoke. That's definitely how you want to start off your defense, but the Sage will be there with the rest. Doesn't even need to use the wall to make sure it goes off safely. And remember, you've still got that operator hanging in the shadows, trying to set up a crossfire right now to allow One Down W to walk forward.
Well, even just those paint shells are going to make enough room. Yes, that's up on the high ground, but it's just a couple of pistols, a couple of sheriffs. This should be a 1 round for Worn Down W, especially given the fact that they have somebody over in bathrooms. Now with Shun out of the way, though, feeling a little bit dicey. Are they going to send the man behind? Are they ready for it? No, there's still a jet sneaking up on them. They're not watching it. Davron's there with the judge. He's got 2. Not a third quite, but that's a push shut down. It's 3v2 now for the defenders. We're pushing back with an ultimate of their own. A little bit of ground made with an orbital strike. All evened up here on point as Ritz looking to clutch it out. Spotted by the sonic dart. Around the corner he goes. Aggressive peek on Oni, and the attackers take the round. It got dicey there though, Moxie.
Oh, Elo Hell Space Agency. For being on a budget push, for having shotguns and sheriffs, they found so much value. Finally, they were able to punish one down W's aggression. That's like the first time I think we've seen the attackers lose someone before they're able to properly get on to that point. Now we're gonna have my favorite duel, operator versus operator. Dogbear's going to have to hit this flash. Favron's going to have to be able to hit the shot. If they find each other out, we're gonna be seeing that trade go off in a couple of seconds.
No, no aggressive operator peaks. I think the Phoenix was just holding and pretty confident they can do it with their own team and push in that way.
Ooh, Oni tries to go for that same sort of play, get someone out early, but the Molotov completely cuts him off. They know he's there. Zeph with the Phantom is forced to use that owl drone to get information. He doesn't want to risk his own head going down because Doctor has been so good with that operator. Gets one, gets two.
Quick picks here for the attackers. Worn down W feeling better and better as the moments go on. Can Dogbear find another is the big question. Been big in the past couple of rounds, and that operator, the boomstick in his hands that he needs. The defense, in fact, might even hold on to this one as Zephyr can't find much value from bathrooms.
That Jet has hightailed it. You don't want to lose that operator. You're already going to be 5 points behind. Cornbread's going to be using the showstopper, but it's not going to be stopping much of anything. Because this defense have just completely yeeted themselves out of that situation so they don't lose the economy as well as that point. Oh,
that's a smart pick there. Everyone with the operator holding their ground appropriately. And I like that Worn Down W just going to back off. Their economy isn't in the greatest spot given that they lost that round prior. Or lost a bunch of rounds that round prior, I should say. But they're still in a fantastic position. You put wins on the board, your economy stays in a great position. Honestly, this is enough that should they just go 50-50, this will carry them to the end of the round.
But Worn Down W, because they had 5 points distancing them from Elo Hell Space Agency, Darkbear is able to just buy up the operator again. Immediately. Next round after he loses it. Zeph holding heaven. This is something that I really don't like. Favron's trying to go for that aggressive early pick, but you don't have the Sage, you don't have the res. If this goes all wrong, you've lost your biggest threat at keeping Worn Down W away.
Worn Down W themselves will just back away. And honestly, I'm curious where this rotate goes because it seems like they just want to spread out, try their options. I'll tell you what you don't want to do, and that's find out where Thavron is in quite the wrong way. This operator's where it hasn't been before.
Yeah, but it's not up in heaven. It's not up on that high ground. Zephyr's with that Cypher camera. It's going to be able to spot out Worn Down W in Hooker, and we just saw Thavron come up in the kill feed, but Dora, it's the wrong side. Elo Hell Space Agency, they're going to be missing that gun unless someone was able to pick it up. 4 versus 2 is definitely one of the best positions that this team has been in so far, though.
No, 3v2, they've stopped the push altogether. As long as Spike's not down, there's no sort of sight control for Worn Down W. I think they may have a couple of smokes left in the bag, but even then, you're not feeling too great about your odds here. Dogbear can hold elbow, but you don't have any control of his sight, especially with Rick going down. That's a spike as well. Dogbear is bound to go here. It's just a question of how many can take with him. One will be the answer. Oni gone, 6-2 the scoreline, and Elo Hell Space Agency double up their points.
And Riffin Piffin was able to pick up the operator. It's just going to chuck it right on over to Favron. Getting a little bit closer in terms of economy. Worn Down W still definitely ahead, but for the first time we're actually seeing a couple of these guys underneath 1,000 credits. Elo Hell Space Agency, they have to be able to get this point, or this is really the decider for them in this round. If they win this point, then they'll be able to stack themselves up so much more comfortably. If they lose, their economy is going to be absolutely crippled.
I mean, in all realism, this should be the round. This is actually the first round that we've seen them with an operator and Worn Down W not having one. So if they use it correctly, if they put Thavron in a good position, they should be able to take advantage of it, lock up a round, and then start taking the economy, rolling it from there. There is the ever-looming presence of another one of Worn Down W's executes, which seem to be the bane of their existence.
At the moment, Worn Down W being very, very passive, not wanting to poke, knowing that they don't have the operator on their side for once, and so they can't risk finding Favron's position out the hard way with that bullet right to the skull. Zephyr's going to be using that camera. He knows that there's going to be some sort of pressure on to B, whether it's going to be the false push. He's got to determine now the amount of members stacking on the side of that point. 110W are definitely wanting to hit it soon.
The pushes over B, 3-man early rotate from Worn Down W, and I love the confidence here to make that decision. Question is, how much can the Cypher get? He's locked on site with those attackers, and none is the answer. Ciabatta Bread shuts them down. That rotation just a tad bit too slow. Even though it came out early, they hesitated about halfway through. Shun knows there was a teleport behind him. His own teammate, though, covering his back. His 4 members surround this B site, but they're still locked out by all the utility.
Griffin able to get that flash to come through and manages to get the kill before he's traded out. However, Shun's camera is the one in play currently, so 110W are the ones holding all of the cuts. They've got the information, but the operator is now on board for the defense.
Now with Dogberry dropping out of hookah completely uncontested as well with the run it back. They're feeling so good right now. 7-2. Already a great start for the attackers who, they're expecting, trying for that 6-6 half, especially on bind, especially in the current meta where attackers are kind of riding the struggle bus a little bit. But right now they are cruising Moxie.
Oh, stamp a ticket for that struggle buster. That's defenders and that's not a lot of armor on their side.
No, that operator that you were talking about, that you were praising from Favron, is just gone. It's back in the hands of Dogbear. And honestly, I'm looking for an early pick. However, there's no one to really be found because Kilo Health Space Agency are playing so passive.
Well, Favron's gonna pop Blade Storm. This is something we've seen him do earlier on in the series. When they're on a budget push, they try and use that Jet ultimate to gain back the damage that they're going to be missing. Unfortunately, though, 110W are all on the other side of the map.
I know exactly where.
Yeah, they're about to find that one out the hard way. And just run away, Zephyr. Run while you can. get out of dodge, if you will. It's just a pistol up against 4 rifles. And there's not that much value to be found here. Yes, you get the rotate too. Maybe you take a couple of weapons away, but the fact that you're on sheriffs and shorties here definitely doesn't feel the greatest. Zephyr, nice shot, though. Not sure what Cornbread was thinking going for that re-peek up against the pistol. You know what? Went for it anyways. 4 versus 4 on site. Significant weapon advantage to Worn Down W, though, right now. Zephyr now goes to re-peek along the side. His team members are falling one by one.
Blade Storm out of play. Was able to pick up 1, but it's not enough. Dogback completely uncontested with that operator. Is able to just come in for the cleanup. Yellow Health Space Agency. They were on the budget buy. Now they should be able to come back in with some decent weaponry. There we go. For everyone who's got that operator back into his hands. We yet to really see the duel between the 2 snipers on either side, but 110W don't really need to worry about taking it so far. As long as they keep Favron contested with 2 free members of their team, Dark, I guess, just gets absolute free reign. And he's been hitting the shots to back him up.
Well, here's my issue. Dogbear really has a read into Favron's positioning right now, and I feel like Worn Down W doing a much better job of dealing with it. He knows how much money that Jet is going to have every single time. He can see it in the feed, and every single time Favron's had enough cash, they bought the operator and they've peeked out B long. It's effectively a free pick as long as you hit that shot. You just hold the angle and wait for her to come to you, which she happily did. Now you got a 1-man advantage yet again here in the round before last of the half. Worn Down W try and shift it over. Do they get the punish onto Rip and Pippin? The trade for 1, and Oni on the other side of the map actually taking down Shun feels pretty good for them.
It's gonna use that teleporter. Try and get this defense behind the attackers to sandwich them in, but... Alright, T gonna trade up for the operator. Teleport his way onto A. There's currently no one defending that site, but there's also no spike around it either. Spike carrier's been killed off. All the defense needs to do is just take that space and protect it.
Yeah, I really don't like the option that they went with to try and go for the resurrect. That was way too greedy when you know there's people around. It catches your stage out. You had a really great rotation through the teleporter. You could have picked up your teammate who was sitting in A short, but instead of going for that, you go for the aggressive res by B, which honestly just wasn't really necessary.
Alright, he's going for the aggressive peeks with the operator. He's trying to inch his way. 14 seconds left. Oni's got Spike completely locked down.
Yeah, just going for the save here.
He's just got to go for that save. Try and keep that himself safe. Try and make sure that defenders will be able to pick up that 3rd point. However, there's still a big difference between these 2 teams. 5 points. Last round before swap, ultimates on board. If there's any time for the defense to be able to try and even things out before that swap comes through, it's now.
I don't know about even. It's going to be 4 to 8, which for defenders is just
Okay, well,
kind of
D
rough
uneven.
half, to say the very least. Elohel haven't had any control over their economy. They haven't had any control over Worn Down W, and Worn Down W strategically have been playing out of their minds every single time. Like I mentioned, Dogbear's had the read on the operator, on Thavron's positioning. It's been Elohel Space Agency playing really passive, and I think that's the big thing they need to change right now. Like, look at how far back they're saying. This is the most aggressive thing we've seen. It's just a bathroom's peak, and Thavron misses it. They're not going to get the value from it. As well, with smokes out of the way, this AXQ's feeling better and better for Worn Down W.
And Dogbearer is feeling so confident right now because he knows that Jed is on A site. Which means there's nothing really that can try and challenge him. Thavron gonna be in that exact position, uses that smoke to try and keep themselves safe, to try and maneuver themselves up into not A heaven, but B. Because all of Worn Down W have worked out, hey, if 5 members are on Elohel Space Agency, we're sitting on that point. No one is currently on the other side.
Yeah, I think the big thing that told them that was just the fact that they saw the rotations come in, they saw the people peeking through heaven and through defender spawn. So the push on to B is free, but not quite free enough. Zephyr's still holding on a side as well as Rip and Pippin. Does he find that frag? No, the run it back gets canceled. No! Ridem got downed as well with the spike. That is so big for the defenders. Not making enough room. Shun, and from behind, another operator shot missed by Thavron. Maybe the nerves getting to him. 2 versus 1 though. Make it 1, and 1 bullet from Shun's weapon will be enough here. Thavron needs to connect this.
Cypher Cage is down. Shun's gonna pluck out another one.
I have retrieved
the spike.
He's got the spike. He's gonna try and go for that bait play. He's actually gonna go for the fuse so that he can get the timer extended. Thavron falls right into the Cypher's clutches. And
Yeah, I'm not too certain why Thavron picked up the Phantom there. I mean, you're effectively 1 HP. You need 1 shot to connect. No matter what range you're at, you want to stick with that operator.
I mean, not necessarily, because if you saw the Cypher just run straight at that jet, and Thavron has already fluffed a couple of under pressure operator shots, you need something you're a little bit more comfortable with. And while yes, it does mean that you have to connect more shots, it also means that there's less punishment available. Remember, operator, you have 1 shot, and then you're stuck in that reload animation. As soon as that Cypher sees that reload animation, he's going to be coming straight for your face.
I mean, that's the thing, though, is you only have time for 1 shot with that much HP. Either way, second half comes in. Worn Down W feeling pretty good about their odds. They start up the defensive side of that.
Shibata, Bread on that stage. Gonna be holding on short. Zephyr's gonna spot anything with that Cypher camera. He's waiting for someone to walk right in front of it. They know that people are around. They know that that stage is likely going to be behind that crate, trying to just slow them down with the orb or use the wall, especially now that the drone's been able to cover not just 1, but 2.
Standard stuff, but the smoke makes things a lot dicier. That wall in and of itself makes this push so much worse. You trade 1, though. That's pretty worth. That's going to give you site control if you're the attackers. It's going to give Elohel Space Agency at least a little bit of space to actually work with. They need to be careful, though. Watch your flanks and watch your sides. So there's people coming up from behind. In comes Dogbearer. 2, 3 even with this Ghost. In fact, he's going to find himself even more to put a 10th on the board. And in fact, a really bad position as well for Elohel Space Agency economically.
They just weren't checking their back, and Worn Down W capitalizes on that. And now we're going to be seeing that economy start to come into play. Attackers, it's just pistols though, no armor. And so the entire team has got to just rush down one of these corridors and hope in the chaos, in the confusion, they'll be able to hit the shots with those pistols, clear out enough numbers from Worn Down W, buy out enough utility. They do have that going for them though, except it's not going to be a very big rush. It's more going to be a sort of tiptoe as half of them go into Chow to try and buy attention away from A short to let the others move in.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed in the attacking buy right now. I would have much rather seen a force buy here, but maybe they pull it off with the pistols. Still around the corner with the shorty. Cornbread gets himself one. Now traded out. Defender still with a pretty distinct weapon advantage. Thavron breaking that one, though. And Ciabatta Bread dropping the Spectre in the corner. Makes a bit more of a difference than you might think, as now Elo Health Space Agency can pick that up, and that gives them a pretty significant threat.
I mean, look at the health bars, though. Thavron's already gone down, and look at that Sova. You blow on him. The Slade is part of there, and he's just gonna be out. Dogbear is able to get that flash. It doesn't connect with anyone. He's trying to see where the Sova is.
Oh, he's snuck
I
around
don't
the
think
site.
they've actually realized that Zeph is behind one of these crates.
How? This is so lucky that he's managed to get here. I don't think he saw either of them. I think they just dodged one another by a hair. He's gonna get one for it. Still, distinct weapon, distinct health advantage. Dogberry's coming up behind him. Headshot's easy. Defuse is easier. 11 on the board for Worn Down W, and they're putting themselves one away from game point.
Zeph just was not able to delay Dogbear enough. And that's why I'm really surprised that he didn't try to go for that sort of ring or Rosie play. Right? Force the Phoenix. He can't go. He's not a stage. He can't just wall off that spike. He can't go for the defuse. He's just going to get shot in the back like his buddy was a couple of seconds ago. But Zeph just stays exactly where he is and waits for the damage to come to him. And Elo Health Space Agency on a very rough spot. Favron's finally been able to get the operator, but he's sacrificing armor for it, or it will just be the light armor rather than that heavy. So he will be a glass cannon. However, if he's able to hit the shot, I'll make up for it. But the attackers are the one to lose one too early.
I mean, it's not feeling too likely. Yes, maybe you push this operator up bathrooms, but then you're running into a wall, you're running into smokes, you don't really have any long sight lines, not established at the very least. You have to take out Ciabatta Bread before you can do anything even close to that. Push is not looking too good. They don't have any map control. In fact, look at Dog on the other side of the map. Yep, takes him down at B long. This is what I was talking about. This is what I wanted to see from Elo Health Space Agency. Aggressive pushes on sides of the map where they know the attackers aren't going to be, but it seems like they're only really saving the attacking for the attacking side, and that mentality just isn't going to get you anywhere right now in Valorant.
Favron as well just gave up their position completely by shooting one operator shot into showers, and so all of 1-2W know that there is a presence there. They're not going to be abandoning that sightline anytime soon. It would have been a smart play if one from Elo Health Space Agency was maneuvering their way towards that B site, but currently that's just not happening. Favron with the operator is going to be wrapping around to that side of the map, but you're leaving that cipher, you're leaving that objective.
I mean,
hoping.
just look at how timid they are.
Are they just
Dogbear got
saving?
one pick. Dogbear got one pick on this side of the map, and ever since they have been walking with their tail between their legs. I know that Worn Down W are playing well, but you just have to be willing to go for these kind of plays. It's really going to hurt you on your defensive side. On the attacking side, I can't fault them for going for the save there. It's definitely the right choice, holding on to the operator, give you that first pick potential, but at this point, I don't think they're actually going to go for anything with it. Maybe they put it into bathrooms, maybe they watch something like a short with it. I'd like to see it push down B long and trying to find a pick over there, but they haven't really had the cojones, and honestly, it feels like individually, yes, they had the skill, but they really lack confidence right now. That's a big thing that's hurting them.
And you've got a jet. You've got all of the mobility. That's the reason why we see jets with operators so often, though. You can go for those aggressive, overconfident plays, and 9 times out of 10, they'll find Vi and you'll be able to get safely out of dodge. But it's just something that Elo Health Space Agency have not been doing, and once again, it's going to be a very sort of slow push. Oh, Dogbear. He's able to get himself out. He does reveal himself, but now all of 1-Down-W know the Elo Health Space Agency are pushing in that angle, and they can go for this rotation.
Yeah, it was just a solid little strafe peek to try and draw out an operator shot. Now pushing in with a weapon of its own. Flashes out both players. However, unfortunate timing there. Oni's able to finish that one off. Defender is littered around this site, though. It's going to be incredibly hard to push for Elo Health Space Agency, who have the place lined to the teeth with players. Brett's going to pick up 2, and if Elo Health Space Agency don't get out of dodge right now, there's going to be a damn near impossible push trying to take out C. Or B, pardon me. Everyone doing their best, but with Dogbear right around the corner, it's not going to be nearly enough.
Favron was able to get 1, but Dogbear just rushes him down when he's mid-reload animation. Remember, this is match point for 1-Down-W. Health Space Agency, they cannot afford to go for the save. This poor Cypher on half his HP. He's gotta put himself right onto that point, right into the jaws of danger.
Base plant, half HP. Everyone knows where he is. 20 seconds as well. You put on a timer, and you know, yeah, they're just going to hold this angle until that plant has to come through. It's a rough match for Elo Space Agency. There were a couple of flashes in the pan there. I really feel like they showed some stuff that was very usable. Mechanically, they felt sound. Individually, they felt all right, but there was a distinct lack of confidence. They didn't know how to take space on the map. They didn't know how to effectively use that map control. And that's what really kicked them, because Worn Down W on defense and attack gave them no respect the entire time. Whether it was a strafe peek on the final round, they knew Thavron was missing those operator shots. They were confident enough to go for it, and they found out where the push was, immediately rotate 5 people over, and then just kind of camped it out because Elo Health Space Agency just sat and didn't want to make a move. And it felt like that was how a lot of the rounds went. If they could find that confidence, they get a little pep talk in them, I feel like they could do a lot better heading into Haven, Moxie.
I mean, we're seeing sort of the statistics at the moment on that scoreboard reflect what exactly happened. Dogbert, 26 kills, 8 deaths. That guy was the one reason that Elo Health Space Agency just did not move forward. Every single time he had an operator, you're relying on your jet to be able to hit the shots to match that threat. But Dogbert got so much space provided to him by everybody else on his team, just moving forward, clearing the ground, setting that operator up so that he's completely uncontested. And all of Elo Health Space Agency are just running away instead of taking the duel.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. Dogbear had way too much space, and well, his team was making some of it, yet they were walking forward into it, but Worn Down W were letting him have it. And I think there's a distinct difference there. Dogbear definitely made the most of it, though. A standout player so far. Shun and Rit backing him up. The entry frags were fantastic from those guys. We'll see, though, if they can keep it up in a map, too. Ladies and gents, we'll be right back after a quick little break.
Academy, they lay down the shatter, let the bodies hit the floor. Uprising Academy at 95%. Right now with Hydra building up to this Bear Barrage so quickly. Oh, and asking.
Double kill in the back with the pulse bomb from the high ground. Aerial assault with that mine.
Impact se escucha de abajo gritar campeón a Sky Foxes.
Holy cow.
And after 42 consecutive losses, the Shanghai Dragons get their first win.
8 teams enter this weekend.
Oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing?
We got a clip with minimal information. It's time to break it down. Speed, 25%. Go, figure out what this man's SR is.
Keep fighting till it's for sure lost. Winnable!
And we're back. Map 2 of the Pluto Cup Finals here continues with Worn Down W currently in the lead 1-0, led by Dogware. We're currently dominating Elahal Space Agency, who, given a little bit of confidence, definitely are in a position to come back. And this is definitely the map to do it as well. Haven offers a lot of places to try and go for those aggressive strategies that they weren't really pulling out on Bind, but they definitely need to if they want to pull this one back.
I mean, you sort of need to capitalize the need and then underline it about 5 different times and embolden it. So, because while Haven does enable some very aggressive plays, it's also an operator heaven. Think of all of the spots that you can hold. You've got A Heaven, you've got C Long. Those are just the bread and butter of anyone who likes to just have that weapon in their hands, and it shuts down so much of the map if you're running into an operator-less.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to run into the operator. What I'm more concerned with is all of those long angles that you just mentioned, all of the openness of this map lends itself to one thing, and that is pushing aggressively on random sides of the map, or rather, chosen sides of the map that you may identify as open. And that's something that Dogbear has been doing exceptionally well over on Bind, identifying which side of the map that Elahel Space Agency weren't on, and then going to kind of poke and prod at that, taking away their map control as a one-man hit squad. And Worn Down W really lack that. They lack map control, and we need them to have that going into this map. That is the key thing they need to fix. Just hold on to your map control, and then you can feel a lot better about yourself.
Honestly, what I would like to see is them lock in the Reyna or the Phoenix. Something that allows them to have that Dogbear level of aggression, because he's getting away with it. Every single time he goes for those aggressive peaks, he flashes first to cover his back. He doesn't need the buddy system. He's got CC on his side, and we haven't really seen Elahel Space Agency. When they decide to hit a point, they don't open up with anything that obscures them. They don't open with flashes. We very rarely get to see the smokes coming down from their side. Much more often, they'll just drop a wall or sort of a slow orb in front of them and try to move forward that way. And it's not really working out. So if you have something like a Reyna, then you can go for that layer and get super aggressive off of it. And remember, Reyna is one of those where the second you get a kill, you can spiral that into another one, because suddenly you've either got self-heal or the ability to not be hit by bullets.
Yeah, and I think the questionable part here is, do you run the Sageless again? I really don't think you run that Sageless again. If you're not going to be aggressive, there is no reason to at all. If you want to make this round go late, if you want to have options, then sure, go for the Sage, but the Sageless and no aggression combo that they've got going on right now, definitely not working for them.
No. teams that run Sages are aggressive. They have to be aggressive because they've got to make up for the fact that if they go into a fight and it gets drawn out and becomes one of its sustaining attrition, they're not going to be able to put up the same amount of numbers as someone who's got a Sage because you've got slow orbs, you've got heals, you've got walls. If the ultimate's colored in, you've even got the ability to pull someone back from the brink of death into the fight, and suddenly you're outnumbered all over again. That's why we tend to see a lot of teams sort of having her, especially at sort of this level. Going with that Sage just means you've got a consistent hero that can stop pushes from coming in, can try and shut Dogbear shenanigans down, or better yet, separate him from his team. Punish the fact that he goes out of his way, away from his members, with only that flashbang, wall his exit off, and then pounce on them.
Yeah, it's definitely a good option to try and go after Dogbear, and I think they should be pushing these angles that they catch him at repeatedly, holding onto the wall to try and go for the post plant kind of scenario. Walling somebody off is a bit tricky. I think you rather have that Sage just to try to put another man on him and put more bullets into him. And there's so many more things that the Sage offers for Worn Down W right now, or pardon me, for Elo Space Agency that they haven't had as an option before. They haven't had the option to go late. How many times did we see somebody half HP versus somebody full HP in a 1v1 that could have improved their score?
There were more than a couple of times, I think, where someone was on like 25% health P, another person was on something like 30%, and they just got mowed down in seconds. And I think for Haven is one of those maps because you suddenly got 3 points to either try and attack or 3 points to defend. You sort of need that Sage. She's the breathing room that this map doesn't really allow for if you don't come out with her.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time, though. As well, there's more things that become really good on Haven. Jet, of course, has a ton of different off angles. Raze can be pretty strong here. Brimstone becomes a lot more standard because there's a bit more space to cover with those smokes. You could opt for an Omen, but people have generally been leaning towards a Brimstone here, playing him in Garage, giving him a lot of rotation options. And the one thing I'm kind of expecting to see here that isn't necessarily the most normal is Dogbear playing in Garage. Because he's been so aggressive, because he's been wanting to push so many places, nowhere really offers that as much as Garage. Yes, it's pretty normal to put that Phoenix over on A and try and have him push an A long or A short, but I feel like with how often we see Dogbear push, it's a little bit predictable. So giving him more routes by putting him closer to the center of the map definitely seems like an option I'd want to take if I were Worn Down W.
And I mean, there's more cover to fall back on as well, because remember, when he's been going for these aggressive plays, 9 times out of 10, he's been alone. And so if things start to take a turn for the worse and he has to use that flashbang, catch out a couple of people, gets a kill, and then needs to hightail it, he'll have the doors to hide behind, he'll have crates to hide behind, he'll be able to pick and choose between rotating over to C or B. And you've got a little bit more coverage on your own backside. And honestly, I second your guest, or I really think he's just gonna be calling Garage and Mid his home. Because so often I've seen people on that Phoenix on Reyna just immediately, as soon as the round starts, walk out of Garage or into Garage, depending on which side you're on, throw up a flash, try and get a pick, and then just separate themselves from the situation.
It's pretty much all going to be pick based though. I think the one thing we can agree on, Mox, and 9 times out of 10 is Dogbear's name up in that kill feed, but you start turning that around, stacking more players on where they think he's going to be coming from. I think this is definitely one that we could see Elo Space Agency do significantly better on, just by identifying what Worn Down W are doing to win these rounds. Because when they go down a player, it feels like there is much better chance to try and take that round away, but it's still incredibly difficult for them. They've been struggling in 4v5s, and making sure you actually take that space that you've earned with your pick is something that they need to follow up with.
That's just the thing. And it's so ironic, right? That they're called Elo Health Space Agency and they just don't want to take the space. Sometimes you just need to bite the bullet and walk forward and gain that ground. And I think in Haven, if you don't do that, if you play as passively as we saw them on Bind, then you are going to be doubly punished for it because there's a third extra spot that you now have to try and take control of.
Yeah, and with that control comes a big question of what site do we think these teams are going to be favoring? We've seen a lot of shifts in how people like to play B. A lot of people have been using B as effectively a split onto A, which has become really, really interesting, but it works relatively well. There are a couple things that defenders can do to try and break that open, though. Rotating someone into A link is, of course, the clear opportunity to get yourself a massive set of numbers up in that kill feed. C has become more and more open. Meanwhile, over the entire course of the game, we've seen people pull back from B. It's just way too hard to hold for the retake.
I mean, I think that's why we see a lot of attackers try to go for that B through A, because there's two things that you get out of it. First of all, you get yourself a little bit of extra safety because there's so much more cover and places for you to hide behind before you actually hit that A spot. And secondly, the defenders have to put so much into trying to cut you off before you can hit that second spot, because chances are when you go towards that B spot, they think you're going for that spike plant. And so they put in abilities, utility that they're not going to get in, and that's where we've seen the sort of shift. When Valorant first came out, it was so heavily defenders favored, to the point where Riot even had to go in and try and increase the spawn doors that the attackers had access to so they could still post up the same sightlines when the rounds actually started. But I think it was about 2-3 weeks ago, there was this sort of seesaw dynamic where it became a lot more lopsided because attackers found out if they tiptoed their way around certain points and made it seem as if they were pushing, they could bully the defenders out of using these really key utilities way too early on. And if you're able to do that, and it becomes a question of being able to safely get a retake going through, the defenders are at such a huge disadvantage before the fight even starts out.
Yeah, not having utility, baiting it out, certainly incredibly key, especially on a map like Haven, where those cyber cages can be so critical over on whichever side of the map you actually decide to put them on. I think that's also something I want to draw attention to. Haven, very likely that we see the Cypher. Where does he go? I think there's two things here. I want to see Worn Down W play the Cypher on A. I want to see Elo Hell Space Agency play the Cypher on B. That's because Elo Hell Space Agency have been playing aggressive. I don't think they're ever actually going to find out the Cypher on A before he's able to rotate somebody in to get some help. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, I think Worn Down W absolutely would find out and take care of a Cypher who is solo holding on A. So I think you have to be safe and put it over on B if you're them. As for compositions, though, nothing's really changed. It's still Sageless for Elo Hell Space Agency. They have to step on the gas pedal now. It's not an option. If we don't see it in the first couple of rounds, I'm really worrying, Mox.
But Killjoy doesn't really enable for stepping on the gas pedal. She's all about trying to deny space, not provide it for your team. You can see her already poised up in C Garage, going to be trying to put either some nano swarms or that alarm bot down to try and just deny Worn Down W from getting to walk forward. Dogbear's already going. He's got a set right on those doors. He's going to be walking right out of them, but that's going to be right into the nano swarm.
And nobody really playing in Garage here. I don't know how much I like this. Dogbear's going to walk in. I mean, sure, there's a nano swarm there. You spotted it out. Yeah, this is realistically not the greatest position to be holding from. Now you're rotating people in. Yes, it's pretty fast. That's the one thing they do have going for them, but they're walking straight into the sightlines and triple peek from Worn Down W. Zephyr able to trade some back, though. Willingly so. 3v2 on point as Zeph takes the same route Dogbear did and now has a flank on them. But it's been spotted. They know it's there. Sova spots him. Takes his head off. 3 members up to 0. Worn Down W put the first round on the board.
But Elo Hell Space Agency were playing the most aggressive we've ever seen them.
Where?
Granted, it's when most of the team are dead, but the Breach going for that wraparound flank. Trying to just get someone from Worn Down W out before the round's over. Try and do anything he can to dismantle the pretty fragile gun economy. Remember, we are first round in. So even though the defense is on a budget buy, they can still come back from this. It's when Worn Down W are able to get rounds in a row that this task becomes a lot harder.
Third round, still third round. I think you're really wanting to avoid Worn Down W getting the option to go for a bonus round, and more aggression from them is trying to take advantage of the weapons that they have. I'm not certain this is the best option. I think they should have been patient, try and draw out some rotations, some utility out of Elo Hell Space Agency, but with the way they're aiming right now, you can't really fault Worn Down W for going for these kind of options. They put a lot of weight thrown around towards mid. But it's kind of the other areas of the map you want to be watching right now. How much does this Cypher hold? When does the Raze come over? Because it's going to be mid no matter what. Your Molotov gets out. You take down one. Dogbear getting shot in the back. Does he get traded out? No. Rippin gets one just for free. However, finally will be taken down by Shun. Jabadabra now gets the plant. Now it's tough holding for Worn Down W.
Yeah, that's why we don't see that B site getting pushed a lot. So many angles open to the defense, but the attack is still able to win that fight outdoor. Second round on the point. Elo Hell Space Agency, they're in that really precarious position where we're about to hit that third point. They cannot let it go to 1 down W. Look at the credits though. They're already not wanting to go for the budget buy. They know they need this point on their side.
I'm actually really curious about worn down W's buy. It's like a half buy up, half budget slash bonus round. Buying the operator is kind of the real question mark here, but you're absolutely right, Moxie. If they come away with it, no matter what they bought, it's still going to be worth it to take down and shut down Elohel Space Agency's economy. The operator, though, not finding much of anything early, just posted up in window.
Zephyr's camera gonna be reigning supreme on that A site. Zephyr himself gonna be nice and safe behind that crate. Camera gets spotted out, 1 down W, know that the Cypher's around. Dogba gonna get aggressive. He's been hitting the shots. Hot Hands tries to cut them off, separate the team, but unfortunately all it does is put Dogba right into the worst possible place to be. Spike slowly making his way towards A. But for the first time we're actually seeing 1 down W being very unsure. A lot more passive than we're used to.
I mean, you lose Dogbear, you kind of lose the tip of the spear right now, but remember, there are plenty of players here who can do exactly what he has. Cornbread trading one out is nice for the attackers, a little bit less information given over. And here's where that lack of aggression from Elohel Space Agency comes in. Worn W have the option of turning around right now. Yes, they're not going to need it because Zeph gets taken out, but you know you always have that choice. Elohel Space Agency finally push in. And they've taken out just enough players with the help of Thevron. That was 16 seconds left. It looks like Worn Down W are just going to have to hold their tail between their legs and run. Maybe save this operator. Don't go for this peek.
Don't peek,
He
don't
absolutely
peek.
be found out. Rip Pippin, he's found, but with 4 seconds on the clock, you're not really scared of losing that operator. Again, though, Space Agency, they're not going to take out that operator. They don't have it in them to try and peek this man out. Just go for a double, go for something. Try and take a dent out of Worn Down W, because now going into this round, their economy is still going to be worse.
Yep. They still don't have anything that can really try and contest the operator. At the moment, Zeph, is he gonna go for the pistol? He's got the light armor. No, he's not gonna go for the pistol. So it's not the budget buy, but they're still on that really sort of dangerous position. Look at the credits. One's even on 0. You lose this round and you're in the exact same position. 1 down W were in danger of putting you in last round.
A lot of pressure towards mid here for Worn Down W, but I doubt it'll last all that long. They've been putting pressure in places and then ignoring it. The same exact Nano Swarm placement as last time. You know you're going to get caught out every single time the turret spots. I mean, this will do a little bit of damage, but nothing more than a couple chips at Dogbear. They've used so much utility already to try and hold this. They've called out the rotate, and Worn Down W haven't even stepped on the gas at all. They're going to go for the B pincer. It's absolutely going to work. With Oni down, they can start to push through Garage. Interesting bit is they have to make their way through this firing squad. It's a nice trade back, though, from Ciabatta Bread. Spike goes down, another aggressive push, but it's still Worn Down W in the far better position right now.
No one pushed the Sage. And so the res is able to safely come through. Dogbear's back in the action. The breach already so low on the side of Elohel Space, even lower. Elohel Space, actually, it's the same problem. They had such an advantage if they just walked a little bit further into C window, if they just shut down the Sage. She didn't use the wall. You could have caught her out when she was using the ultimate and wiped Dogbear out of the equation a second time in a row, but they just stayed too far away.
And this is why I kind of worried about the Killjoy pick here. It doesn't really offer anything if you're not going to play aggressively. Or, like, they're playing even the Killjoy not necessarily the greatest because they're putting way too much faith in that utility that hasn't paid off at all. They just shoot it off the ground every time they try to walk towards the garage. It's not the most difficult thing in the world for Worn Down W to deal with. In fact, they're just going to walk into the same exact place again.
Yeah, sometimes I like to see Killjoys use their abilities early, especially on Ascent, but on Haven, where you've got 1 in 3 chances of getting it right, and when it's so telegraphed, it's definitely one that you're missing. However, Preference able to get Combat out. Res already being used last round for 1 W means he will be gone. Dogbear's ultimate is able to find the information of that turret. But it is currently 2 versus 4, and Spike has been planted, or Zephyr with the shotgun. It's gonna have to be going in alongside that breach, but they're walking straight into Dogboy, who's set up in window.
Yeah, realistically, I mean, they should be able to pull away this map. Yeah, you lose this round. 4-1 though, still not the worst scoreline they've seen. I'm worried though when we swap halves, what are they gonna do with this Killjoy on the attack? War.W are playing out of their minds right now. Ritz got 6-0, hasn't even dropped a death yet after staying alive for the one round that they did end up losing. I need to see that aggression. It has to come out at some point. Moxie, when is that?
Well, it might not be this round because RIT has now got that operator, and it means Elo Health Space Agency, if they're not able to contest it, it will be RIP. They've got lockdown. And if they're aggressive, if they just move forward, are able to plant that spike and then drop that ultimate, that is their best chance all day, Door. The question is, are they actually going to be able to pull it off?
Yeah, defensively, the lockdown's a little bit trickier to use because you have to predict the push, or even if it's after the spike goes down, you have to try and... Oh, yeah, that's a rough one, trying to push through right as the Sonic Dart hits as well. He's going to smoke himself off the site, try and get a little bit of control back. But see, the Brimstone doesn't push through. Yes, he smoked off the front of B, but he didn't actually take the space that he made. They're going to walk right through it. They still gain control of B, and now you're down a smoke. This is incredibly rough for Elo Hell. In fact, they're losing players, bleeding them out. Yes, the lockdown comes in, but in 10 seconds, this round might even be over, Moxie.
Oh, that is the baddest time to use your ultimate. That's the unluckiest time. Rippon's just going to be holding. Trying to move in, spikes down, you've got to go for that defuse. But one time W are just waiting, you can see the Sage looking straight where Rippon Pippin's gonna be walking in a couple of seconds. The instant they hear that thank you.
They've also got the Orbital Strike, which will just shut down this push entirely if they really have to use it. They shouldn't though, as Rippon Pippin's already run out of time, has to take this corner. Will take down Ciabatta Bread, you know, a little consolation prize for the way out, but it's definitely not the round they were hoping for. There's another successful B push comes down from Warren down W. In fact, I mean, I don't think I've seen the push A in God knows how long, Moxie. They only have had to use the mid control that they get from getting Garage for free every single round.
Yeah, Health Space Agency, they're just giving them too much room. And one time W, the second that they see that spot unoccupied, they just move straight on in. Okay, Rippon Pippin gonna go for a different setup, this time going to be holding on to B. So we might see that area denial. Swarm Grenade not going to be going into the center of the door frame either. Slightly to the side of it, so less predictable for when down W. Someone may well trigger it if they decide to push. Spike's been left in that spawn until one down W have the down low on where this defense is set up so that no one gets caught out and drops it for Elo Hell to just hold that line.
I do like these changes from Elo Hell, though. Never mind, they've backed out of Garage again. And immediately, mid-control is given over. W just going to walk in. They might be able to get this one, but no, Dogbear's already in too good a position to actually deal with, healing up with the hot hands curveball around the corner. Should hold people away for just long enough. The Brimstone is getting a double peek. Good shot by Dogbear, though, allowing Cornbread to take down the opposing player 4v2 on B. Rippon Pippin has a good angle. They've got 3. They're going to need the ace to complete here if they want to win this round.
41 HP though, and you're walking into an operator. RIT's just using those shots to scare that Killjoy into staying out of Garage. That's going to push you right into Ciabatta. Is able to stop the spike plant from coming through with the Nano Swarm. But that means that the Sage is free to just go right onto A site completely uncontested. And Rippon Pippin, you've got to get that rotation going.
So the big thing that letting the Sage rotate over to A did was allowing Rit here to try and regroup with her. At where they were, it wasn't really a safe spike plant to try and give them sightline from mid, as well B site's just tricky to defend. You weren't quite sure which angle they were going to come from because there was enough time to try and wrap the site and avoid the Sova's angle altogether. Now you have to deal with it, which really sucks because there's going to be a crossfire here from A short as well as A long. It's going to be damn near impossible to actually pull out here for Rippon. But you know what? You can give it a solid attempt, even if it's tricky. Yeah, found out by the dart. You just got to get off that side with what little you had. A great job there by Worn Down W to lock that down. That was a great rotate and an even smarter post plant.
And one to W as well, they didn't go to put the Sage in heaven. They just posted RAT right next to the Sage so that if Ripon went for that heaven peak, tried to just rain damage from window, the operator would just clear her head off immediately. And I think that's something that we've been seeing from One Down W consistently through all of these rounds. They have such a good grasp of these rotations of where their players need to be. Not necessarily in the most obvious of spots, but in the worst places for Elo Hell to try to deal with.
I mean, I've got a question for you. When was the last time we saw Elo Hell take a fight 2 versus 1? They're not quite giving themselves the advantage. Meanwhile, Worn Down W every single time. Even there, you saw the rotate was specifically to give themselves that unfair 2v1. It's not that they're just better mechanically. It feels relatively even in that regard. In fact, it's all about the fact that they're better when they're together. This is immediately going to push off the smoke. They know he's right around the corner. Oni's down, caught with his eye. Watch out. One player on the corner. Shut this down. No, Dog Bear opens up this side of the map entirely. It's going to be a free plant over on C, as well as all of the control. 5 versus 3 already here. You've got Neural Theft and not much else to try and take this one over.
You will have that breach ultimate. And honestly, with One Down W being in possession of so much, you may well need to invest it. Because all of One Down W, they're not necessarily just around that spike, they're also all the way around that point. Sage was blocking Zeph off in Garage. He's shooting it, he's given away his position. Zephyr's completely blocked off by the slow orbs. Easy pickings for Cornbread. And Zeph just did not allow really an opening. The timing was ever so slightly off for those two, though. Both needed to come out at the same time rather than one walking into a slow orb and just dying, and then the other one shooting that Sage while exposing themselves and allowing Worn Down W to just literally turn to the left and pick him off.
Yeah, now you've got Worn Down W with an economy that spiraled out of control. Elo Hell Space Agency, they've got a shot here. They've got some rifles and an operator to their name. Maybe Thavron can find an early pick as they're finally strongholding Garage. This is what I wanted to see. Post up an operator and they're stop giving it over to Worn Down W every single round. A little bit of confidence here. It's going to go a long way should they choose to take that part of the map again. But, oh man, it feels like they're mind readers at this point. Right when they start actually putting players into Garage aggressively with weapons that are going to stop them, the push goes towards A. And there's only one Cypher. Breach at the back of sight, but he's got nothing to say about what happens until they spot this push out. And it comes, Dart misses. They're around the corner waiting for the right opportunity. The Breach not paired up with him though. He's 1v5 right now. The hot hands going right beneath his feet. The push has been slowed though. Rolling Thunder well timed here to not allow them to push through. That's been taken out by the Hunter's Fury. A couple around the corner. Zephyr going aggressively here. Not much sight control for the attackers. Worn Down W haven't gained all that much quite yet.
But Thavron has just completely lost control of Heaven, smoked off, forced to wait it out with that operator. You've still got 2 other players to try and communicate with on this defense though, and One Down W haven't even decided to properly hit A. They've been sneaking their way towards C. You're gonna meet that Brimstone in a couple of seconds, but it's Thavron. It's gonna have the hardest time on that raise. Not the Jet, no mobility, no easy rotation to make. One Down W, all they have to do is move in. Especially with Orbital Strike finding absolutely nothing.
Yeah, Broom's prepped around the corner. Oni has to make a difference right here now. Gets a second, denies the spike plant. No, but still a round 1 here for Elo Hell Space Agency. The rotation made it look dicey, but Oni had all the reads in the world to pull it off. Clutches out the round, and 2-7 is going to be the score line as we head into the last couple rounds of the half.
That Orbital Strike really got Elo Hell Space Agency out of a tough position, because that was the first time we didn't get to see One Down W go aggressively. They all had to scatter because Orbital Strike was coming in, and that means that you're going to be separated, you're going to be easy once Elo Hell Space Agency are able to get the rotation going through, and that ultimate bought all the time they needed to ensure that that occurred. Rip and Pippin again going to be dropping those very early Killjoy utilities once again right into the door frame. One Down W have had such a good read on where those killer utilities have been. Such a good read as well as on Thavron, but this time
Oh, that's a rough one. I mean, I was about to say they were in a great position. Odds are the push was going to come through Garage since it didn't work at A last round, and then Davron was going to be there, but then Shun just comes in and domes him. What a shot by the Cypher. Now they've got control of the entire middle of the map yet again. Good flash by Zeph. Gets him on with Dogberry, playing a little ring around the rosy here. As the team gets more and more of this control of the map back, going to be using the lockdown to try and gain even more of that. The spikes rotated all the way over to A. I don't know why they're trying to defend inside. They need to be worried about the other half of the map, Moxie.
Everyone on 1W are just running to that A side. It's a race.
Oh, they've got the movement.
They're giving them push movement. Everybody from ELL thought that A site was being hit, and look, it's just a poor Brimstone all on his lonesome, Oni hiding behind a crate. He's got a Phantom, but he doesn't have the ultimate to buy his team the time to get a rotate.
Yeah, they check it enough, at least with one person. It wasn't quite the cleanest take. One player in Garage to trade out. It's our IT versus 2.
Spike's not
Both
down
waiting
yet.
the defender spawn.
He's gotta go for that
Knows
spike.
exactly where one is. He's gonna go for the spike here because he knows where one of the players is, and in fact, it's gonna be the correct gamble to make. Should expect a player out of Garage, although I love this aggressive peek. Connects the shot, waiting for the last while the reload goes through the air strafe to finish it off. Couple style points on top, 8-2. What a save by RIT.
Oh, it's the same thing as well. ELL Space Agency, they just didn't really get onto that point fast enough. 1W, they had 14 seconds left.
I have money.
You had to get multiple kills on the board if the attackers were to walk away with that, when you know that this over has got to go for that plan. But they're just not able to push them in time to, and then once again, they go separately. Cypher gets caught out.
I mean, you're going to get caught out going for the 50-50 there. So it was a gamble, but it was one that he had good odds in. Because he spotted at least one in the defender's spawn, he knew at least 50% of the team was there. It goes with plant, and if they were both there, there's no time to actually go for the tin test on the plant. Only time to wrap around in Garage, a read which he got perfectly well. Now they're looking to pry the map open over at that A side again where they were previously shut down. It's Zephyr against 3 here. Expecting a double peek from them as they've already taken out the trip wires. They took the corner, no Dogbear shot from behind. They know exactly where he is though. Gets traded out well as the res coming in. 5 versus 3 here in the 11th round of the half. Spike goes down, you're walled off. This is already looking rough for ELO.
1W as well. Because of that wall, they'll know where ELO Space Agency are coming from. A couple of them are headed towards Heaven. But you've still got to try and fire the shots off, and when you're running into a full team with access to all of that smoke, Heaven's just not going to be enough.
I mean, 1 bullet, 2 kills. That's the statement of the half right there. You're putting yourselves in an even better scoreline on Heaven. I warned it. I thought this was how this was going to go. If ELO Space Agency didn't adapt, didn't get aggressive on any parts of the map, it would just be a playground for Worn Down W. There's so much space here for them to push and take, and if ELO Space Agency aren't going to defend any of it with anything more than just one Cypher, maybe a Nano Swarm, it is just free real estate from them, and they are going to continue to walk onto sites. Now the question is, where do ELO Space Agency throw their weight around, and can they rotate quick enough to appropriately take down Worn Down W at least one more round?
Well, they do have a lot of this map covered. The Cypher camera's going to be giving all of the information they need on that A site, and so the rest of the team can cluster around C and B. 1W definitely wanting to try and take that mid control. They've been pretty much uncontested for it the majority of these rounds, and so if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
There are 3 players outside B though. This is actually kind of dubious for them to push into. With the smokes coming in though, it's a full execute and there's no one on site yet again to push them out. I'd love to see some aggression from Zeph. Flashed himself in, well done, walks through the cage. The information's out there, but he's gained himself ground without dying, and that is the biggest thing here. Smart molly though by Dog to shut down the other half of the site. Oni can just sit there and watch as Zeph goes to town and tries to put some numbers up on the board, but Shun shuts down too. Locks him down to just one part of the point here. The remaining half in the round. Rit shuts down the middle of the map. And there's just 2 players sitting here waiting to get taken out. 2v1. It is winnable here for the Brimstone. My god, is it going to be hard, Moxie?
RT's wrapping around as well, trying to set a crossfire up. Oni's got to go for the bait. The Sova's in the window providing the covering fire. And if he goes for that defuse, he's gonna get an operator shot right in the back of the skull.
10-2 is exactly the half worn down W we're looking for, exactly like game one. These guys are coming in to lock it up. They're playing really well. I mean, it is extremely clean Valorant. Yes, ELO Space Agency are struggling, but I mean, who wouldn't be against a team that is playing this well? It's hard to be confident when somebody's hitting their shots like worn down WR, and when you have a team that has somebody like Dogbear who could show up, or RIT, or Shun, or Ciabatta Bread on literally any given round. What more can you expect? It's been clean play all around, and they're being rewarded from it left and right.
One and W just have such a good grasp of the numbers and how best to play the situation with it. It's the exact same play that we saw a couple of rounds back when that Sage and the Sova are the only ones left, and you've got that operator in play instead of going for that control of heaven. They buddy up. RIT just goes for the window push, make sure that the defuse cannot come through. And now ELO Space Agency, the sides have swapped, they're going to be on the attack. They've got to get aggressive. This is the first time we're going to be seeing a sort of false play coming out from them. Two of them trying to make a little bit of noise in Garage so that the rest can get safe passage through C Long. And it's working. Dogbear is out of the picture early.
Yeah, I like the split there. I like them forcing Dogbear off the angle. I think Dogbear probably should have held it a little bit better earlier, pushing for that door, but now still going to be one man down on the retake. C is a relatively open site, so there's a pretty good chance here. An awkward double peek, though. You're not getting both of the players peeking out both times. However, it is effectively traded out by Rip and Pippin regardless. Still locked out of the site are worn down W, who only have Ciabatta Bread and Garage right now. I love the positioning from ELO Space Agency to try and close it out.
Cornbread and that Cypher. Cypher very low HP right now, going to be walking right into the shot. Shun gone. And hopefully ELO Space Agency will look at how aggressive they played that round, look at how quickly they went indoor, and they'll replicate it. Because that was when we saw that team flourish.
Yeah, you didn't give worn down W any time to go for a rotate. You didn't allow Dogbear to come in, because Dogbear disengaged effectively out of Garage, but he didn't really make anything of it because that push came in so quickly. I'm not certain whether we'll see that same push as they now have upgraded weapons, and if they get too unruly, they're going to be running into shotguns. It's a dangerous game they're playing here, Mux.
Well, it's a dangerous game for the defenders as well. Remember, they lost that round. They will be on the budget buys. That means pick a corner, pick a shotgun, pick a place to hold, and hope the attackers walk past you.
Dogbear's already gained control of literally half the map at this point. I mean, C is completely out of the picture. He could be lurking outside Garage for all he knows, so he has to be a little bit patient in that regard. But as the smokes come down on A, it is surefire. Half his team was already over there, lying in wait. It's just a matter of how many picks they can get. Cornbread's in a bad position to actually find any picks, though. Shotgun's not starting to pay off, and as the retake goes through, those shotguns become even worse because you have to take these long angles, Moxie.
One and W are still waiting for that rotation from Dogbear to come properly through. Meanwhile, Rip and Pippin gets aggressive, is able to take out one. Favron able to take out that Phoenix flanking behind the Cypher trap, where actually I think gave him away. RT able to shoot through the smoke, picks up one, but it's nowhere near the trade you need. You're on 34 HP. You're up against 4 members of ELO Space Agency on full, and they'll get another round in the bank. 6 more to go, though, in a row, and then they'll equalize that score.
Yeah, and honestly, if there's one player I want to highlight right now, it's going to be Rip and Pippin. The past 2 rounds, even during the defensive half, I feel like Rip and Pippin's really been a standout, and it's mostly for game sense purposes. They've been watching their back, they know exactly where the players on Worn Down W are, they're the only ones looking for that aggression and shutting it down. I think if that continues on this attacking side, they actually could make something of it, because it's really going to give them a boost to their post plan.
I also want to highlight Zephyr as well. Like, these 2 members from ELO Space Station, look at the utility that they're investing. Trapwire down on one wall, turret down on the brick wall, all to make sure that Dogbear does not get to go as aggressively flanking as he has. And it's reflected, look at where that Phoenix is! He's nowhere near the team currently.
I mean, you can't expect them to push C long like that 2 rounds in a row, especially when you're going into third and it's going to be rifles versus rifles. Safer play is definitely the better option here. No surprise why Worn Down W are going for it. It's just a safer option. It's just the better one right now. Hold your crossfire on C. You don't have to worry too much about Garage because now you have the camera set up there. It's not nearly as rough as trying to hold it with something like a Killjoy. However, Dogbear peeking this angle is something that I'm not too big of a fan of. You know, he's got a pretty big weapon advantage. However, it's going to give away his position for the crossfire And now they know they have to peek both those angles. Triple man peek. Dogbear still gets the better of him though. A nicely timed headshot. Bring out the wall as well to make things even more difficult. If they could hold this garage position, this push is completely shut down from Elo Hill.
Oh, that Phoenix wall is perfect. Allows Dogbear to get out of that corner and shoot the one member of Elo Hill Space Agency who was trying to wrap around Garage. And now Zephyr's just left on his own. He's only got a ghost as well though. He may be full HP, but the rest of his team not quite in that boat. So one down W with a full team. All they have to do is hold that medal. Elo Hill Space Agency, 3 seconds left on the clock. Spike nowhere to be seen. Just have to take this one on the chin.
Yeah, saves everywhere. It's kind of surprising to see them not go for that actually instead of going for a rotate. Because they have money to back this up, they played that like a bonus round. So look at their bank. 5,000, 5,000 on both the players with Bulldogs, but they tried to hold on to them. I don't think this leaves them in a position where after this round, they're going to have the economy to buy again. So that save actually isn't the greatest for their economy. It might let them buy an operator in the next round, should they manage to somehow scrap together enough cash, but it kind of throws off the team balance.
And that's a risky one too, with the defense being on 11 points. You don't want something throwing off your balance. If one down W, force them into that really horrible place to be where you're trying to just scrap together all economy you can on what could be match point.
And the pushes draw at the utility yet again. Do they respect it is the question. The slow orb comes through. I like the aggression here. It's kind of walking yourself into a blender though, as there's a ton of defensive utility on that point. It was a really great attempt at pushing through all of it, but definitely not the right time to do so. Elo Hill Space Agency, well, they found the aggression they needed at the very wrong time, Moxie.
Oh, not the right time, not the right point. Any other one, though.
Yeah.
If they tried to pull that off on any other point, then they would have had a much better chance. But they go for the A site, and unfortunately for them, that's the one that one W had doubled down on trying to hold on to. It's a good read from the defense as well. Elo Hill Space Agency was shut down so completely on state that they were allergic to it for that round. Now we're on match point, this being a best of 3. Remember, if one W pick up this point, they will pick up the entire series today and that title. The Hill Space Agency, they've got to get 8 points in a row if they want to equalize this score. They are the only ones with an ultimate. Orbital Strike can be absolutely huge, but one W are playing around it. They're making sure all of them are separated. If the ult comes out, only one's going to get caught by it.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see this Orbital Strike trying to either be used to take control of Garage or to try and hold on to the Spike post plant. Now, Garage would clearly be a big mistake. The only thing sitting around there is the camera. I mean, there's a trap wire as well, but no matter where they go in middle here, it's going to be completely contested. They use it to try and gain control, but the wall's just going to shut this down, Moxie!
That completely shut off? They just used that best get-in tool to be evicted right out by that Sage.
A lot worse to use that early. It did just as much as it would have had it been in Garage. Now you have no map control. You're flying. Why on earth are Shooting Dogbear trying to contest that? Either way, Ciabatta Bread's going to go for it as well. Very questionable decision there when there's 5 members locked up. However, Cornbread and RIT definitely not out of this one yet. Cypher could try and win this round. 2 versus 3 now in the post plant. They're splitting themselves up to put 1 in Garage, 1 in Defenders. I believe it's an operator on the Sova here. And that's going to give them a good chance at taking down these players C-long if they can establish themselves on site and take out that Killjoy.
Remember though, 1W have been working with 2 members before. That operator's going to be a horrible crosshair. Rip and Pippin's able to remove 1 threat. Now the operator on its own becomes much less dangerous. However, you still got to just try and occupy that sofa. Remember, there you go. 5th point on the board. RIT not going to have that operator, hopefully fingers crossed for this team, in this next round. He will still have that ultimate Hunter's Fury, and that is devastating if a defensive Sova knows how to play it, or you just wait for that sand cue to come through, and then you let it rip.
I mean, even more important than that, I'm looking at the lockdown. I feel like Rip and Pippin could actually lock up this round off the back of that. Then you're going to have Neural Theft after the next round. This was something Elo Hill Space Agency actually could turn into a few more rounds. I'm not going to call a comeback quite just yet. It's a little bit far for that, but definitely a threatening position, if nothing else.
Well, that requires that Killjoy to actually survive using it, and Wanda and W are going to do everything they can to get her out of the way! Oni's the one to fall. Elohel still have their win conditions safe in their ranks.
Taken down.
Oh no, and they haven't pushed the shotgun. He's gonna get the peek again here. Oh my god, he got a lot of damage off.
Outside.
They're probably gonna push this. My guess is Cornbread is gonna go aggressive on this angle. No, they're actually backing away from the lockdown. I don't know how much I like this option from Worn Down W, but if you're winning the game already, you're feeling pretty okay about giving up that. Oh, he gets caught on the edge of it. Oh, that sucks. All right, T. Fortunately, caught with their pants down. 3v3 for the retake. There's a Phoenix behind them. Oh, no. And look at this. The Raid's going to shoot him right when he comes back. Oh, 1v2. One player left. Can Thavron do it? Goes for the style points. It's next to none of them. Defenders get the defuse and put the round on the board. Worn Down W with the win.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. That showstopper, it wasn't just trying to pick up a kill, it was trying to cancel that defuse door, but it's a couple of seconds. And unfortunately for Eagle Health Space Agency, a couple of seconds has been sort of the theme of tonight. A couple of seconds out, a couple of seconds of not being able to get that rotation in time, a couple of seconds of not going too aggressively in. And Dogbear, once again, a couple of kills ahead of everybody when it comes to that scoreboard.
Yeah, there were some highlight moments for Elohel Space Agency, though. Ripin Pippin, definitely one of those, played fantastically on the Killjoy. Had a great second game, all things considered. I mean, 16 and 11, when your team's having that much of a struggle, is definitely something that you can start bragging about. Worn Down W, however, just played immaculately. Strategically, individually, it felt like they were just on another level, dominating everywhere. Dogbear especially had a really good read. You could tell the game sense was all there. This man was every part of the map that Space Agency didn't want him to be in, which is kind of the tell of a really good Phoenix player.
Yeah, and RIT as well, someone that we do have to sort of highlight. He went 15 and 6, but I don't really think that reflects the impact that he had on this game because it wasn't necessarily about getting those kills. It was the threat. This guy knew how to utilize that operator shot after shot after shot just to spook Elo Hell from trying to move into positions that would allow them to get into fights faster and easier. And every single time that we saw 110W in a sort of 2 versus 1 or 2 versus 3, that Sova would never go for the instant engage. He would always wrap around, take the time, reap the bigger reward of being able to set up a much more impactful crossfire and prevent Elo Hell Space Agency from moving out of the corner they'd boxed themselves into.
Now, we can talk a lot about players. We gotta kind of call for an MVP right about now, and I think the second game was a great performance for Ripin Pippin. And normally I'm not one to just give it to the top fragger, or oftentimes I'll try and credit somebody who definitely helped them out a ton or was giving them all these options, but Dogbear was doing most of that alone. He was making solo pushes around the edge of the map and finding first picks time after time. Yes, he got punished a little bit more in the second game, but he still came up on top of the scoreboard, and you can't do anything but just sit and watch in awe. I've got to give it over to Dogbear. Mox, how about you?
No, I've got to absolutely agree. The guy knew how to use the flashes. We saw the walls used to try and get himself safely out, provide a little bit of cover for the team to hide behind. So he wasn't selfish with him, which is a trap I think some Phoenixes can fall into when they're going for that very over-aggressive play. He was a team player to the end, and that's why he's definitely got to be MVP for me as well.
Huge congratulations over to Worn Down W. Congrats on winning Pluto Cup, taking away that first place. Lots of pride to go with that. Huge props to Dogbear for taking away the MVP. As for today, ladies and gents, that is our best of 3 done and dusted. Worn Down W pull away the finals win 2-0. Thank you guys so much from both Moxie, the production team, and I, everyone here at Elo Health. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.